Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Audrey Faust, and she is a business financial coach who specializes in empowering women small business owners to take control of their finances. Welcome, Audrey.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. Tell us, what is a business financial coach?
So I like to say, everybody gets into business because they have a gift, right? Like whether it's an electrician, as we were talking beforehand, or, I work with a lot of creatives, interior designers, marketing professionals, whatever. You have a gift, and when you create your own business, the finance stuff just comes with it. And nobody teaches you that ever. So unless you go to college and get a business degree, like this stuff is just thrown on you, and you're kind of like, I don't even know what to do or how to handle this. And no one teaches you.
So what is it that you do to help them with that?
I coach women business owners to understand the financial pieces of their business. And we start with the mindset, because the money mindset will get in your way every single time when you're building your business. So if there's any kind of what I like to call prosperity blockers, things that are going to keep you from making money, we tackle those first. And then we get into creating a blueprint, which I don't want to call it a budget because I hate the word budget, but it's a one-page where we look at where you are, where you want to go, and how we can make your business more profitable and grow faster and create the individual wealth that you get to create by being a business owner.
Now, you talk about the mindset. So are you going in and talking with these business owners and trying to get them to change their mindset that they have? And if so, what is it that you're trying to change?
Sure. So we are brought up in a world with beliefs, right? We get them from our family. So I'm a certified neuro coach, which during that process, I learned how the brain works. And before the age 7, your brain is like a sponge, right? You hear that, like kids are sponges. They just take everything in. Well, you're taking all of it in the environment that's around you. So if your family or the people that you're around have a money mindset that's like, we work hard for our money, rich people are evil, anything like that, we're taking that in and we're taking it as our own, whether we want that there or not. So things like rich people are evil, mean, greedy, any of that, your subconscious brain will do everything in its power to keep you from being rich, because that's deep down, that's what you believe. Does that make sense?
How do you so how do you get them to change? You're saying that you change their mindset. How are you getting them to change their mindset if that's something that you're saying has been ingrained in them since they were very, very young?
Well, first we identify it. And that's huge in itself, because sometimes you don't even realize it's there. So through coaching, we identify the mindset that's already there, that's preventing them from the business and the life that they really want, by asking a series of questions. And once we identify it, then we get to reprogram it. And you do that a couple of different ways. You do that through repetitive. So if you think about when you learn to tie your shoes, right? You had to practice, you had to keep doing it. And then it goes into your subconscious. Right now, as an adult, you don't think about how you tie your shoes, you just tie your shoes. You just brush your teeth. All those things go into the subconscious mind on repeat. So to reprogram something that's in the subconscious mind, it creates repetition. You have to create repetition. That's the first thing. Then there's also emotional things that come up around your beliefs. So I also use the modality of tapping, emotional freedom technique, which allows you to release the emotional stuff that's stored up in your body.
So in going through this with them and helping them identify what these beliefs are, and then you're trying to help reinforce them. How, I guess, from a business standpoint, again, you're getting them to believe that they can do. It sounds like that they can do more than they thought that they can do.
Right.
So then, in going, through that, what are some of the financial metrics that you're using to help them see that they are overcoming this and that they are, I guess, growing themselves and growing their business?
Well, we remove the belief, and once we remove the belief, then everything else is easier. Emotionally, we remove the belief. In our subconscious, we remove the belief. And then all of a sudden the ideas open up, right? And they're like, oh, well, I didn't think I could make, $100,000 a month. And after we remove any of the beliefs, then that changes. And their brain opens up. Like, your brain is so powerful. Like, it has so many things in there. But if you don't believe that it's true, your brain is going to stop you in its tracks, because it's like, whatever belief you have in there, it's like, no. It goes into this fight or flight mode, right? And just like, well, I don't want to be rich because rich people are mean and evil. So I can't make that much money a month because that means I might get rich and then I'll be mean and evil. So when you remove that, it opens up the ability, the imagination, and it's really just sets them off into a whole new trajectory.
Are you also helping coach them? I know you say you don't like the B word, helping coach them on reading and understanding their financials, because that's where I see
Yes.
a lot of people that are business owners have deficiency. And again, a lot of that comes from our profession and the fact that many of us talk in acronyms all the time, and nobody's really sat down, especially as a business. Many times they don't even understand what a balance sheet is.
Right.
Why is it important, and so forth. Can you talk about some of the things that you do with them, to help with this?
Absolutely. So the B word I call a blueprint. We use a blueprint to create what they want to create in their business. And then, yes, like 9 times out of 10, they don't ever look at their financials. So my background is, CFO and controller for small businesses, and I've helped them build through understanding the financial information from under $1 million to over 5 million. And then they get to sell their business, right? If they want to, because now it's worth something. So What I can tell you, the seven-figure business owners that, I've worked with in the past, the ones that were growing, they understood the financial pieces of their business and they looked at it every single month. There were together, we would read the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the cash flow. We'd make decisions by looking at that information. And if you're not looking at that, it's really hard to make decisions. Or if you don't understand that, even if you are looking at it and you don't understand those reports, it's really hard to make decisions when you're getting to that level to grow, unless you have A, accurate financials, and B, you understand what's on them.
Yeah, I mean, many times, the small business owner is more worried about tax and how do I reduce
Yes.
my tax burden as compared to, how do I grow in that understanding that the balance sheet and profit and loss and cash flow statements are all tools for them to use to help manage their business. And if they learn how to use those, then, really, can open up what they can do for sure.
Well, I can tell you, even though a lot of business owners are worried about tax, um, if you're not making a profit, you're not going to grow. And if your primary focus is tax, how much tax I'm going to have to pay because I have this profit, it's really hard for you to grow. You have to create a profit, which means ultimately you'll be paying tax on that. If you want to grow your business, especially if we're talking to, multi seven figures, you're not going to grow without it.
Um, so many, like we're talking here, many business owners feel overwhelmed, by the finances and stuff like that. Because again, many of them started out that this was I'm going to call it a side job, and then it kind of became their side hustle. Then next thing you know, they developed it into a full-fledged business. Um, and they haven't, and they don't know this stuff and the blocking and tackling of things. How do you help someone change? I'm going to say change their identity because many times, we're growing this, and then basically the business, we are the business is us. How do you help them change that identity to where they aren't their business?
Well, you kind of said it right there. So the first thing you get to do is change your wording, right? A lot of times I'll be coaching business owners and they'll say my business or my company instead of the business or the company, right? Take the you out of it because especially when if you have a team and you're talking to your team, right? You want to make sure they feel like they're part of it. So if you say my business, I actually had a client just this week on a session, and she said, and she might not have said this directly to her team member the way she said it to me, but she said, if you bring in more money, I make more money. So I immediately said, that's not really the language that your employee wants to hear, right? So instead of I make more money, you can say the company makes more money and therefore it can grow and expand, which is then the benefit to everybody, not just to you, right? As the business owner. So being aware of your language is definitely like the first step, and saying, acting as the CEO versus the owner.
I think sometimes that's a hard transition, especially when you started out. It was you and you were the you did everything. so from the start, and you were the one who it was doing everything. You're the one who's there at the late hours, so forth and so on. And that is definitely a mind shift that people need to be able to make, to be successful in that. What are some of
100%.
the what are the some of the common mistakes that you're seeing people make in not being able to make this mind shift that you're talking about?
Common mistakes. I mean, it's really just not paying attention to their words that they use, you know. Because I'm a coach, I often I'm filtering like the words that are coming out of my mouth a lot of times because I'm like, oh wait, no. That can really affect your brain. So let's say you lost a client, right? You could say, I lost a client, which loss feels like you lost something, it was bad, right? Or you could say, I released a client.
Mhm.
And the difference in the feeling of release versus loss that's going to change your whole entire mindset as well. So it's paying attention to your words, how you're speaking about your company as the company. When you're talking about your team, right? Your company team versus like I and my.
Um, you have a book out that we can see in the background there. She Grows Rich, that came out at the beginning of 25. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. She Grows Rich, How to Become a Financial Powerhouse. It's a book I wrote to help women uh, understand personal finance. So I had in the past worked with women, coaching them. I had a group, I talk about it in the book as well, around financially empowering themselves. And my story goes back to my mother, who was in a relationship with my father, who struggled with mental health. And she always felt like she was stuck financially in that marriage because she wasn't able to support herself. She wasn't financially independent. And, she had a lot of challenges in her life because of that. And it was my mission to help women become more financially independent. Women couldn't even have a credit card until 1973. So some of that was society, right? But like, but we need to like start shifting the conversations, right? We need to start shifting it so that we're teaching our daughters and we're teaching women like that you get to be financially independent. You get to create this life where it's not you being dependent on a man. And we get to understand all the financial pieces of ourselves personally as well.
Um, do you have a new book coming out anytime soon that you're taking the next steps on that, or is that it for now?
It's it for now. I'm sure I have more books in me.
Right.
But birthing my first book was well, it took a lot. Full transparency, I had to work with two different publishers to get it out. So
Right.
there was a little bit of some trauma there getting the first book out. So I'm so happy that it's now out and it hit Amazon bestsellers. So like that was
Right.
super exciting. And I'm just happy to share that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, what besides profit margin and things like that you're trying to teach, these business owners, I guess, what else is your goal in helping them achieve? When you're looking at, I guess, let me ask it a different way. How do you help them define success, or how do you define success when helping a client?
Yeah. Well, it's what they want, right? So we define success together as, you know, when I work on the blueprint with them, it's like, here's where you are, here's where you want to be. This is where you want to be this year. Then we redo it next year, redo it the following year. But there are things that also come into play, which you started touching on it in the first part of your question, that thought came up in my head, so I want to do it. Sometimes, like when we work on this blueprint together, and we start talking about their business and where they want to go, one of the most important things that you need to make sure as a business owner that you have the right people in the right places as far as your team. So if you have a team, or what's it going to take to start growing the team, and what does that team look like? So for instance, I had a client, Kim, who she had an interior design business. She had for like 20 years, like a long time. She had partners at one point, and then now she's running it herself. So that was why she came to me, because she's like, I need to understand all these financial pieces that I don't understand and learn how to really grow this business on my own. And the first thing that, came is we looked at her financials, and I said, well, where's your team? Like, she had 1, 2, and a bookkeeper. She had 2 team members and a bookkeeper. And the 2 team members, she had a junior designer who was just giving her notice. And then she had a virtual assistant that was functioning as more or less a project manager. And we kind of really looked at those positions and realized that the junior designer might be better for her to actually hire a senior designer that could take more things off of her plate with just a little bit more money. And then with the virtual assistant might be replaced with a project manager, somebody that was actually physically in her office that could really understand the projects that were going on, versus a virtual assistant that was kind of doing that. Making those 2 transformations in her business just took off. So it was just phenomenal. Like, she was worried about the senior designer's salary being a little bit more. And I said, you're going to see how much she can take off your plate. And then it's going to free you up to do more sales and really and that's exactly what happened. And bringing the project manager in the office, it like really also was such a great transition that she ended up increasing her revenue. I think she was around $1 million. And by making these 2 little shifts, she had booked, before the end of the last year, she had booked 1.7 million for the following year. And then, like, in the beginning of 2025, she's almost at 2 million for the entire year. So she almost doubled her revenue by making 2 little shifts, and it really didn't cost her a lot of money, just by making sure she had the right people in the right positions. And it was super transformational for her. And yeah, so sometimes you need to look at things like that it's a little bit different than the finance, but then you got to overcome the mindset. Well, like, I have to pay this person $20,000 more a year, but what's it going to help you bring in? So
Yeah, I think lots of times, and I'm sure you see this every day in what you're coaching, is that lots of times the business owners kind of get lost in the trees and can't see the forest anymore. And they need
Yeah,
a fresh set of eyes that can look at it from the outside in to help them make those kind of changes. Um,
100%.
the big thing I want to say about that is that many people go to their CPAs or their tax advisors to do that for them in two totally different people.
Yes.
And I think it's really important for people to understand that. Um, can you talk about that a little bit, because there is big distinctions there.
Yeah, so I have done taxes in the past, so I've lived through tax season. And it's no fun. And they have to spend so much time understanding tax law. And then in tax season, they've got their nose to the grindstone, right? Um, they don't really have the capacity to even like get inside your business and really understand what your business is creating, right? And what you're doing. Um, and really like spend the time to figure out where you want to go, how you want to get there. Sure, they can give you a little bit generic off the cuff advice, right? But they don't have the capacity or the time to really understand your business. There may be a few CPAs out there that are doing that. I've heard of maybe one. But most of them are really focused on the taxes, understanding the tax law. Like that's their genius and that's where they get to shine. And that's a different person than someone that's coming in like myself, a business financial coach, is really going to help you grow your business and understand the financial pieces of it.
Audrey, we've covered a lot here in a short period of time. It goes quick. What have I not asked you wish I had?
Oh, well, let me say I have a free gift for anyone listening to the podcast. It's called Profit Accelerator Workbook, 12 Secrets from an Expert CFO for Women Entrepreneurs. So if you can find that on my website, audreyfaustconsulting.com, and it's really got some great tips in there. We start with mindset, and there's a whole audio that comes with the workbook that helps you start with the mindset, understand it, and start reprogramming it. And a bunch of other things that just great tips for any business owner that can just download it for free and go to town.
Great. I thank you for that gift for our listeners, for sure.
Awesome.
So, Audrey, people like what they hear. You just gave us your website. Is that the best way for people to reach out to you, or is there other ways that you would say for people to reach out to you if they have questions or want to talk to you about coaching?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. But the best way is to go to my website, audreyfaustconsulting.com. There's a form on there. If you fill that out, you can reach out to me directly, or you can download one of my free resources. There's several on my website. That's the Profit Accelerator Workbook is probably the most popular one. That's why I mentioned that. So I also do occasional workshops that are free. So get on my email list, and by downloading the workbook, you would get on my email list, and you can definitely even just hit reply, and I answer any email that comes my way.
Great. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Gary. I had fun here.
Great. Hey, this week our guest was Audrey Faust, and she is a business financial coach who specializes in empowering women, small business owners take control of their finances. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.